Yeah, ready. Welcome, everybody, to our Finance Committee meeting for December 20th, 2023. It is about 6:32 p.m. Roll call, Amber.
Mr. Ghost,
Here.
Mayor St. John,
Here.
Mr. Capel,
Here.
Mr. Neff,
Here.
Mr. Grumney,
Here.
Mr. Martin,
Here.
Mrs. Cooper. Here. Present.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to our minutes from our last meeting. That was November 15th, 2023. Is there a motion for approval or any changes?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Mayor,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Cooper. Any further discussion or changes? Okay, roll call, Amber.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Same.
6 yeas.
Okay, let's go to our new and unfinished business section. For new business, we have a couple items here on the agenda. The first is the asset management proposal by HCA Asset Management. You all have a several page summary from them, from Ms. Stefan in your package. This is about inventory control. HCA is proposing to enter into a contract to provide a physical inventory of all city capital assets and infrastructure items for the current fiscal year. Ms. Stefan, you want to go ahead?
Yes, thank you. So as you all know, one of the top objectives of the finance department for the city of Sunbury is to get onto GAAP financials. So in doing so, part of that requires that we value all of our inventory and our assets, capital assets, and then begin to record those on a balance sheet and depreciate those over time. Currently, we do not have such an inventory. We do not have historical values on all of our capital assets. So this is something that the city would need to start basically from scratch. So what HCA does, as Mr. Ghost commented, is they will do a comprehensive capital asset valuation and a physical inventory of every item that is over $1,000 in value that is owned by the city. And that includes roadways, bridges, infrastructure, even, monitors and computers if they're over the value. So not just typical inventory items, but large items as well. Our wastewater plant, the cemetery, things like that. So what they would do is they would come in and meet with city staff and city directors and get an understanding of what the assets that the city owns. They would spend several weeks here on site and using their tools and their knowledge of doing many of these inventories for cities in the past. They would use their software and the data that they have from previous works to develop these baseline inventory or baseline valuations for all of our assets. So that would get us at a point where we would have a listing of all of our assets so that we could then begin to depreciate. And that's where the accounting comes into play there. So we would have accountability and control of all of our assets. We'd have that complete comprehensive listing and the valuation. They would also help us with a procedures and policy best practices if we so desired. And this has an ancillary benefit as well for capital expenditure planning. Having a baseline and a listing of all of our assets and our inventory would give us a better idea of what we have and what we need in the future so that we can plan for capital expenditures appropriately. Any questions on the process and the why before I move on to the pricing that they've offered?
Is this a do it once and be gone, or do they maintain a relationship from now on with us?
That's a great question. Typically, it's a one and done. They come in and do the inventory, and once they're done, hand us an Excel spreadsheet of what they've found. And then at that point, we would take that information and either put it in Excel spreadsheets and maintain the accounting processes and the depreciation on our own. Or I believe they have a process or a service where they can help manage that in the future. But typically it's just coming in, valuing the assets, and then they're gone.
Those physical assets, so not like roads, but computers or file cabinets, whatever might be over $1,000. Do they tag those? Do you know? Okay, and
they
assign
do.
an identifier. Okay.
Yes, there is an option where they will print City of Sunbury tag with a number, a unique identifier on it, and they can attach that to the assets.
Okay, thank you.
So it looks like they were established in 1985, headquartered in Bradenton, Florida, several other offices, and they'll deploy the full-time staff for this action out of Wisconsin, right?
That sounds right, yeah.
Okay, and I see your name, Dana, as a reference. So I imagine that came from Johnson, your time at Johnstown.
They didn't ask me to put my name in there, but yeah.
So did you work with them when you were
I
with?
did, yeah, we hired HCA, so it would have been about 2 years ago now that we had HCA at Johnstown, had HCA come in and do the asset valuation, and I felt that they were very professional. They worked very quickly, and they were on task. They didn't dilly-dally or waste time in any other way. They came in, they did what they needed to do, provided us with a very concise and complete listing of all of our assets. And I didn't really have to do much at all. It was very seamless from my standpoint.
You were happy with the product and the price?
I was, yes.
Did they do a background search on me and include my hometown and my parents' hometown?
I was like,
I saw St. Clairsville on there, yeah.
And then Monroe County,
Yeah,
Mansfield, Ohio.
City of St. Clairsville.
They've done the research. I appreciate that.
Possible.
Yeah, other clients in Ohio, Hamilton County, Monroe County, City of Niles.
So they do have a price quote here on page 11 of their proposal.
Mhm.
And the pricing for their baseline fixed asset inventory is $30,000. And this would include all individual items over $1,000 in valuation. They also have a barcode tag for per thousand. They would charge us $1,200 for the barcode tagging. And they also have several other items as well. The third item on the list for $8,000 is the cost segregation evaluation of infrastructure costs. Honestly, I'm not really sure how this differentiates from the top item, the baseline fixed asset inventory. So I'm going to inquire as to what exactly that means.
Yeah.
I would have thought that that third item there would have been included in the baseline fixed inventory, but I want to get some more information on that. The final two items there, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that we choose if we were going to go with HCA. They offer an insurance appraisal where they will give an insurance appraisal value for our insurance company on all the items that, since they're going through and looking at them and valuing them anyway, they just offer that extra service. And also policy and procedure development assistance for $2,500. I feel confident that I could work with our auditors and develop a policy and procedure and wouldn't necessarily need that service. So
Yeah.
that is, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, with regard to the insurance appraisal, being in that business, I mean, I may be able to do that for you for nothing. So
Thank you.
we can talk about that.
Yeah. And plus insurance companies, that's what they do. Basically, they have people that come out and value
Mhm.
appraise every once in a while. So this is just one proposal for the capital asset valuation. I'm more than happy to get some other proposals and look at other companies if you would like. I have researched a few other companies, and HCA stood out to me. One, because, well, when I was researching them several years ago, when we decided to go with them in Johnstown, they stood out to me as being very professional, and they had a lot of references. And I spoke directly with the president, Mr. Sheehan, and he made me feel very comfortable with his process, and just the direct communication made me feel like I was very confident in their abilities and what they did. And my experience with them at Johnstown was superb. So, but I'm more than happy to get another quote if council would like.
Do you remember the pricing here for the first three items? Is this similar or consistent with what you saw over there?
It is similar. I feel like it's a little bit higher here. I want to say we were around 25,000 for the baseline in Johnstown. So I don't know if their prices have just gone up in general or if they base their pricing on size of the city or budget. A lot of companies will base their pricing on budget. So
This may not be pertinent to the HCA part of the discussion, but you mentioned that part of the goal of this was to track depreciation over time. How does that happen? Because not everything depreciates at the same rate. And if we're including everything from vehicles and computer to land,
right.
what goes into that? How do you figure that out?
A policy would be created to define the useful life of each category of assets.
Okay.
Mhm. And so based on the category of assets, that category would depreciate at X number of years, whether it be over a straight line or there's lots of different depreciation methods that could be utilized. I won't go into details there, but based on the type of asset and the length of its use, that's how the asset class is defined and how it's depreciated.
Okay. Same would be true for an asset that can appreciate in value, like land. I'm sorry,
I'm
I'm
not,
asking really off.
that's an interesting question. Land, I can't answer that. I don't know if they would appreciate the value of land or if they would simply use the historical cost or some other method. I don't know.
Okay.
And did they provide you with an Excel spreadsheet for everything? And
Yes.
is it editable?
Yes,
Edit that?
yes.
Okay.
And in that Excel spreadsheet, they also listed the category that they recommended of the category of the asset and its useful life and its recommended depreciation schedule.
Sorry if I should know this. For a service like this, is it necessary to competitively bid, or if we feel confident with the vendor, we can just select the vendor?
I believe the competitive bidding starts at 50 or 75, 50.
All right, thank you.
So we have
Yeah,
the authority to, if this is 30, we could select this.
Right. So let me just add a little bit more. to that. We don't have a written policy that says it's 50,000. That's been our operating practice, has been 50,000. And I think we had noted earlier this year that the state of Ohio does allow non-competitive bidding up to 75. Like I said, we don't have a written policy. We're again sort of operating under the $50,000 standard.
Yes, that's accurate.
I think our charter allows,
Actually, it doesn't have a number in it.
what's that?
It doesn't have a number in it, right? The charter.
Right.
Yeah, it talks about the city establishing a policy, so, which we probably need to do.
This all sounds really good. I just, I'm hesitant to award something based on one bid. I mean, are you aware of any other vendors out there, reputable vendors that we could solicit a bid from?
Yeah, I can certainly find some. None of them come to mind at the top of my head, but I will certainly dig around and call some other cities who maybe have recently gone through this and see if they have any recommendations.
Were you looking for action from us tonight or anything?
No, not necessarily. This is something that with the goal to start on GAAP financials as of January 1st, 2024, this is something that I don't really want to wait too long to finalize, but it's not something that we have to finalize right away. With the valuation starting at January 1st, 2024, even if they came in, if the asset management company came in spring or summer of 2024, they could backdate the valuations to the beginning of the year, no problem. But I wouldn't want to wait too long, so.
What's the firm that we use that was gonna help us get to GAAP accounting? I think they're based out of Westerville.
Julian and Grube,
Do they offer service like this?
they do not, no.
Okay.
But that, I can certainly ask them if they would recommend any other companies.
Okay.
And I'm
And then
sure.
what about contested values? If we, these are gonna be fairly objective, I assume. I mean, an outside party that doesn't live here and, they tell us something's worth 100,000. We're like, no, we paid 250 last year or something.
Yeah.
Is there a process we can go? Is it?
I believe so. That's a great question. I can ask and get some more specifics, but I do know that when there are assets that were recently purchased, like within a year or two, we can provide HCA with the invoice or proof that of what the value was that we paid for that item, and they will take that into consideration or just flat out use it.
The quote's interesting. I mean, the 30,000, I'm not sure what data we provided them or what was available to them, but that seems like kind of a shot in the dark, at least to me. I don't have anything to baseline it against. And
Exactly.
yeah, what do they grab from us to come up with that quote?
I gave them our statement of values that we provide to Reinhardt, our insurance provider. I gave them our statement of values and our listing of all of our buildings, machinery, and equipment, and vehicles, everything that we provide to the insurance company, basically.
Balance sheet. Basically.
I'm not sure if I gave them any of our financials, but they could have easily looked it up on the internet, on our
Okay.
website.
Is that enough guidance for you?
Yes, I will get some more quotes. I'll reach out to a few more companies and get some more information and bring them to the next finance committee.
Anything further from anyone? Okay. All right. Thank you, Dana. Our next item on the agenda is software for permitting and licensing OpenGov. There is some information here in the packet about that. Go ahead, Dana.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to bring something to your attention, something that it's a process improvement that I feel could really benefit the city. This came about in trying to figure out how much the engineering, how much we were paying CT, for example, for different building projects, and how much the developer paid to us prior to having the services rendered. This is what we call pass-through engineering. So when a development starts, the engineers will will come up with all the fees based on our fee schedule, and the developer is supposed to send the city money for the engineering in advance. And then when the work is done by the engineers, the city will take that money that was paid from the developer and pay the engineers. So we as the city act as a pass-through for that. It's come to my attention over the past couple months that there was some miscommunication among staff, and to no one's fault, it was just kind of lost in the weeds. We weren't sure who was doing the billing. Bottom line is we were not getting any payments from developers. So all of these engineering costs were being paid to CT for work that was done by CT on behalf of the developers, but the money from the developers wasn't always coming in. Now, we were getting some money from several developers, but not all of them. So that was an issue. So
Sorry to interrupt. So that means that you were probably making a payment to CT from our own account
yes,
budget
yes,
for getting money
correct.
from the developer.
Yes,
Okay.
and that's not happened in every case. Like I said, there were many cases where the developer has paid in advance as they were supposed to, but not all cases were paying. Not all developers were paying in advance. So, in discussion with Dan Whited, he had mentioned that a city that he also works with, City of Hilliard, they use this OpenGov platform, and it's a model that can easily track all of the pass-through payments, the receipts from the developers and the payments to the engineers, and keeps everything in a very concise software package. So that seemed like a really nice tool that we could utilize and also help us to get the funds that we are entitled to receive from the developers ahead of time, so that we're not coming in this situation where we're kind of behind the eight ball. So Mr. Hennessy and I and Mr. Whited went to Hilliard to have a demonstration on OpenGov, and the city manager, the assistant city manager there gave us a nice little presentation. And basically what it boils down to is the permitting and licensing software. And it has an interface with the customer or the resident or any developer, where they can go onto the website, submit an application for a permit, for example, and there's a workflow where the permit would go through to approvers here, approvers at the county, it would basically track every single process, every iteration of the development agreement. As things change, things can all be housed in the same central area. So it has a lot of other benefits other than just helping the finances stay on track and knowing who owes what and when. So that is what prompted us to go learn about OpenGov. And so we had a nice demonstration, and I just wanted to kind of tell you all about that and let you know that I'm going to be looking more at it and getting a statement of work from them to see if it's something that council would consider investing in. I see a lot of benefit from it if we were to use it. Lots of saving time. I think Mr. Rowley said that it has saved their city half of an FTE just in time saving. So you're not always constantly on the phone looking for copies of the current documents or the development agreements or finding who paid what and when, and is everything being tracked as far as processes in the development, and all of the approvers and approvals are getting done as they should. So it's just a great tracking tool. Being that the county does a lot of our inspections now, the county can be a guest user in the system, so they can also upload documents and view the processes on all these developments as well. So they could be a party to it. So there's no limit on the number of users. It's a really great tool. We did use this at Johnstown as well for the permitting and licensing, and you can also collect payments through OpenGov. So it's multifunction and it's a really great tool. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to be providing statement of work for that and see if there's any questions that you all had regarding that.
I just said, thank you for them. Yeah, workflows, keep track, that's very important because that stuff can get lost, it can age and you don't realize it. So I completely agree to automate that would be a huge help for staff and the city, just see what's going on. But just two quick questions. One is, have we balanced out correctly then as far as the payments that were due that they did not pay? Are we in the process?
We're in the process.
Okay, yeah.
We're in the process of that. Dan Whited and I and Andrew, I believe it works for him, is actively sending out invoices right now to the developers based on what we've collected so far and what they owed based on based on what they've submitted. So that is definitely being done. We are looking into firming up that process going forward. There was discussion about putting in something in the project development agreement about making sure that these payments are made before the developer receives any comments back going forward.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say, I don't think it
issue.
should be the city's responsibility to try to collect money we've put out for a developer for services. And that's why I was wondering, do we need to be the middle person? Should it be the developer working directly with CT to get the information? I mean, why, if it's the developer's money just going to CT, why, I'm just curious why there's a one-on-one relationship and why we're even in the middle. And if we are in the middle, then I feel like no services get rendered until the money is received from the developer. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
And honestly, that's just the way it is. All cities go through this same process. And really the city is the gatekeeper of the permits, right?
Mhm.
So without issuing those permits to the developer, then they can't move forward. So you're absolutely right. There should be something in place or, a procedure where we do not let the developer move forward until the money is paid.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, Dana did a fantastic job of explaining the meeting. I will say this, I had asked Alex, the city zoning officer, to begin to do some research on this probably 6 months or so ago, just to figure out if there was some kind of a software tool that we could use that would help us track, building permits, the building inspection process, the engineering reviews, the plan review process. I mean, there's a lot that happens, as we go through the development. He did talk to a couple of other vendors. We never really found one that we were comfortable with. So I really like the fact that OpenGov allows the opportunity for the county to be a guest participant. Now we got to get them to agree to do data entry or upload documents. But even if they don't, I mean, we could upload, the building permit at the tail end or something like that in order to keep that. The other thing I was going to add is that I think the system started to break down a little bit once Dave Parkinson retired. So that was actually when the transition started to kind of break down a little bit, because I think Dave was very instrumental and active in terms of putting out the original invoice, tracking the receipt of those funds and getting it to us. And I know Steve struggled a little bit with that after that transition. So definitely something we need to do. We got to figure this out. So, I mean, this might be a good lead. So put together a scope of work. We'll get a little bit of pricing information. We'll come back to you.
Yeah, did you get any pricing at all?
I do.
Okay,
I did get a broad pricing from Mr. Steve Lane, who I met with via Zoom the other day. He recommended, or I guess ballparked, that our annual licensing fee would be around 20 to 30,000, with an implementation fee on top of that of about 25. So real pricey.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and that was one of the comments we did get from Hilliard, is that, it's not an inexpensive tool. I mean, even they would agree that it's not inexpensive, but again, it's been implemented in Hilliard. It was also done in Upper Arlington, where the assistant city manager was in both communities.
How long have they been using it?
Well, how long has Hilliard been?
Hilliard in Upper Arlington. Do they have any complaints and things like that? Are they happy with the
I
service?
was gonna say, I think Mr. Rowley's been in Hilliard for a couple of years now. So, and then he was in Arlington for several years prior to that. So, I mean, it's multiple years. And I mean, he was pretty high on the product.
Okay.
That's why I think tried to bring it with him to Hilliard. He did give us some advice about things that, that they may try to sell us that he didn't think we would need. He also offered his assistance in terms of helping to stand it up. So that may be one way that we could save a little bit in terms of costs. So, yeah, there's still some work to be done before we know what the real number looks like.
Sounds like you're on top of it.
I have some other questions. So this would change our front end process for people to apply for permits, right?
Yes.
So there's a change management side of it on when somebody's actually just initiating the process. I want to rezone, I want to build a house, I want to do anything. It's going to be different than our typical PDF process that we have today.
Yeah.
Okay. What about generating permit numbers and things like that? So today our accounting software does that, is that right?
No
Who does that?
permit numbers. I'm not
Yeah.
familiar.
I mean, we have an indexing system that you can go and look up a permit. but
Well, currently, I don't know that we have a system. I know that if we were to go to OpenGov and what makes the most sense and how they do it is by address. So any address in the city of Sunbury would be, you could search on an address in the system and it would show you every single permit or license or whatever is associated with that address. Everything would be visible there. So it would assign a unique number for that address, and based on whether it's a deck permit or a building permit, it has different categories of permits that it would indicate a unique number for.
And for larger projects, I'm thinking like a neighborhood or something like that. How does that work? How does it work? I mean, there's like the front end land development side, and then there's the permitting of houses and building permits and zoning permits.
Yeah, I was going to jump in and say that while they may use it a little bit more on the building permit side, we are obviously working with Delaware County to do that. So we wouldn't need it quite as much for that. But it does have a module that does allow for the early plan review, the submissions, the trading of documents back and forth. It keeps comments in a single file and viewable by anyone that you give access to. So it is designed to, track that development from the moment the first submission comes in.
And it is cloud-based as well.
And then did CT issue invoices directly to developers to get paid? How did the developers pay them directly without us being involved?
I don't believe that happens.
Okay, that did not happen.
No,
Okay, so the gap is that we paid CT before the developer paid us.
correct.
Okay. And what services are these for that CT is doing for us? Sorry, what services is CT doing that you would consider pass through?
Plan review, site review, construction administration, construction inspections. final plan review, plat reviews.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion on that topic? Thank you. Let's go to 2024 budget and wage ordinances. I think we have the third readings tonight. Ordinance numbers 2024-01 and 02. Did you want to add anything further, Dana, or I don't see any reason why we would not be passing this tonight.
I did not have anything else to add, just wanted to leave it on the agenda for visibility that it is the third reading this evening. And if anyone had questions, I'd be able to look into those, but no, I did not have anything specific to add.
Any questions for Dana on that? Okay. All right, very good. Let's go to the last item on the new and unfinished business section, council apparel. Talked to Ms. Cooper earlier this week and she had a good idea to come up with some sort of, I don't know, resolution or ordinance to or procedure.
Motion and vote, maybe.
Yeah, something to allow council personnel and staff, I presume, to get a shirt or a jacket or whatever. So we talked earlier this week, kind of trying to figure out, should we do an amount of money or a number of articles? Just trying to get a handle on that, but go ahead, Jim.
So you can handle this a different number of ways. What might be easiest is if we just place in the budget a dollar amount for council clothing allowance, similar to how we currently, but we're changing this way for our staff for their clothing allowance. We would allot a certain amount of money for all the council collectively, and that money could be spent anytime throughout the year at Big Walnut Apparel for City of Sunbury logoed t-shirts or whatever you guys would like.
On an annual basis.
On an annual basis, yes. Just as an aside note, what we're moving towards and starting in 2024 for staff clothing allowance is instead of having a budgeted amount and letting them spend the money and then get reimbursed, we're offering employees a check up front, which is what we have for the police department in the collective bargaining agreement. They get a check for any clothing that they would need throughout the year, one time a year.
I see. So the council comes into session at the beginning of the year, you could just disperse a check.
That is one way that it could be handled. So something to think about. I would probably lean more towards just having that budgeted amount and then letting each of you go to Big Walnut Apparel on your own and ordering just what you want, and then they could bill the city. And then when I see that invoice come through and know that it's for council apparel, I would just deduct that amount from that budget line.
Okay.
And this came about because I've heard from various council members, they needed a new shirt or, I saw the jackets and sweatshirts and I thought, well, we have a short sleeve shirt and we have a long sleeve shirt and a heavier outerwear would also be nice. And so I brought it up. I think I tried to hit all of you individually and everyone agreed that you were fine with spending money on these jackets. And so it started with that. And then talking to everyone, Marie mentioned it too. And then talking with Ms. Steppen, we just thought, so we don't have this conversation again. Let's just talk it out now and let's make it easy on Ms. Steffen. So that's how it kind of came about. And if we do go that way, then I went to Big Walnut Apparel with the intent of doing what we did last time, which was I was going to bring you all some options, but they have a whole wall of jackets and in person, they are mostly women's cut. They have the men's cut as well that you can order. But I thought, well, this is like 8 jackets and they're all women's cuts. I'm not going to bring them all into you guys. So after we make a decision, I thought it's on the council agenda as well for a motion and vote or whatever we decide to do. And then after that, you can, whatever is decided, but I'm not gonna bring you guys examples. You can go in and shop it. I think that we were gonna maybe put like well, I don't know if we're gonna do that anymore, but
If you want to pick a dollar amount, maybe multiply that by 7 for 7 of you, and then say, this is the amount that you have allotted for the year. And then whether you spend it or not is up to you. You don't have to, but the option would be there.
before that, just one thing is if we decide to do it for next year, I would still like Mr. Ghost to be able to get a jacket. That's my opinion. I'd like him to be able to have a jacket with the Sunbury logo on it.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr.
So I was just gonna say, so I know we purchased some apparel for council this year. I was just gonna ask, how do you think that worked? And it sounds like, again, we didn't have the outerwear, but maybe we've met some of the other needs. I know we also, I think, got name tags for everybody, again, as a way that, you know, to represent the city when you're at a public function. I don't know if it was one short sleeve, one long sleeve shirt. I'm trying to just remember ultimately kind of where we landed, and maybe that's a way we could figure out what a dollar amount might be. Did you feel like that was adequate? That's not adequate? I mean, any feedback on that, I think, helps us.
It was more than adequate with the short sleeve, this short sleeve, and then we had like the quarters that pull over.
Short sleeve, long sleeve.
It was definitely good for a year. I'm just thinking, you know, if you're on a 4-year term, that you're gonna end up having 8 articles of clothing or whatever, 6 or 8
Right.
or something. I mean, that's a lot of clothes. Do we have a policy to return it? I guess is another thing. I mean, we've had other council members in previous administrations, Dave, Tim, you may remember, like, when you left, you had to turn it all back in.
Not sure I remember that, but.
Yeah. Tom Zaleski, I
Yeah,
know for a fact, had to turn his back in, but, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're gonna budget for 2 articles of clothing a year. That seems like a lot to me.
Well, or maybe another way to think about it is, you know, per term or something like that. Although there will be a point at which maybe the clothing, you know, is not in, I mean, if you're 3 years into your term, I mean, at some point you may want to refresh that, piece of clothing. So, yeah, I don't think we've got a proposal. I think we're just trying to
Yeah,
understand
I
maybe
just
what's
want-
needed. And
Yeah,
then maybe
I
we come back with
originally
a
was starting
proposal.
with, I wanted everyone to be able to get some outerwear, and then through talking to everybody individually, this was brought up. And I thought, I don't want to keep talking to all of you guys individually, let's talk it out during the finance committee. So I'm not coming with a proposal. This is good, just flushing it out, like maybe that's not a good idea to have, maybe we do come back with it. But I know we're gonna have a new council member in January, so we definitely want to make sure she's included, so. I just wanted to get your guys' feedback.
You know how much we spent this year?
On council only, I
We
want
didn't
to
buy
guess
them this
maybe
year.
400 at most. I don't think there was,
What we
it
didn't
wasn't
buy
much.
this year. Our shirts, did we?
I don't remember.
It was Kathy was here.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was the in 22.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Like
anything.
$100 a person or something.
Yeah, and we could always budget a certain amount per person, and then that doesn't mean you have to spend it. You could obviously, you know, you want to be conscious that it's taxpayer money, and you want to be aware that, you know, don't want to spend, you know, you want to be frugal and be good stewards as well. So if the money is there and available, then you could think, do I really need, is it something I need? Make that decision.
I mean, I'm just spitballing here to throw out a number and then like pivot off of, but I would say maybe $1,000 a year, no more than 2 items per council member per year.
Right, because weight can certainly fluctuate.
So,
That's
great.
Oh, that's
My-
not much, Joe.
Like the annual basis, because weight can fluctuate.
Yeah, oh, yeah, for sure.
Certainly.
My shirts don't fit.
Is the purpose to make, for the year, to make us more recognizable to the public when we are out and about, either in an official or unofficial capacity? Is that the intent?
I mean, I go to probably a meeting outside representing the city at least every other week, if not once a week. I know that may not be the same for everybody, but
My intent was for when we're in a meeting. I mean, I wear it to a football game or something, but the intent behind it was so that when we're meeting someone out, we're going to Hilliard, we're represented well. And I've noticed since we got our shirts and staff has shirts too, and I really like that too. So that was my intention, was when I'm going to meet someone, they immediately recognize like, okay, she's an elected official with Sunbury.
Or at a council meeting. I see Murray's got one on there.
Yeah.
It's always good.
Or the trainings too, not trainings.
Yeah, trainings,
Nobody
works
wears-
the events,
Nobody wears it as good as Murray, but.
That's true.
I think that's pretty good spitballer there. 2 items, $100 a year, but I don't know, give it some thought,
I'm
maybe.
saying no more than 1,000 for all of council, but I mean, what do you guys think about that? I mean, we're ratcheting down to 700. I mean, this is a marginal or negligible number, I guess is what I'm saying.
I was thinking just another way, that's good, or just, maybe one item per council member per year. You pick if you wanna, a jacket, and maybe no more than X amount, so like, one item, not to exceed $50 or $100, whatever it is, I don't know, but that's just another way to.
So $1,000, split 7 ways, just a little short of $150 a year. I mean, that's easily gonna get you 2
Per
items.
person.
Yeah, per person, exactly.
that would get you 2 items.
That would get
This
you 2 items,
jacket
for
will
sure.
probably be our biggest expense.
It's probably gonna be, I mean, at least 70.
I
Yeah,
tried
that
to
probably
do
will be.
I looked and they varied between like 45 and 75, I think. I mean, I didn't go, there was a lot of options, so I didn't go to every jacket.
No.
I think that's fair.
So I don't know if we'll start this with the new year or whatever, but
I can certainly budget that in for 2024. I can add a budget line for that. I'd have to split it out of what we currently have budgeted so that I'm not altering what's currently on the agenda for tonight, but I can easily parse something out and specifically allocate it for council clothing up to $1,000, up to 2 items per council member per year.
and then is there a way to also make it available so Mr. Ghost can get a jacket?
I don't really, I'm fine. I'm
Okay.
good.
We
I
can make
appreciate the
something
thought.
happen.
Thanks for the thought, but
Yep.
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
then what would you like us to do in council? Make a motion that says that?
Yeah, if you want to make a motion for that, exactly what we said for the $1,000 of appropriated funds for council clothing, not to exceed 2 items per year per council member.
We can do that at the end, at new and unfinished business. I see we have that on the agenda. Okay.
I don't want to open up a can of worms, but did we do this in the past for planning and zoning and BZA?
No.
We did, okay.
That's a
Not to my
that's a
knowledge.
legitimate can of worms. That's a good question.
I thought we had, so.
Not since I've been here, no.
Are we gonna leave it 2 items or should we put a dollar amount per a person too? Cause somebody could go in and get
Yeah,
$150 coat, $200 coat. And be well and start using other.
If anyone does that, I'll blast an email out to everybody and say,
We're all gonna
be.
None of us are gonna do that. There's another coat over there that's really nice.
Vortex.
yeah, a dollar amount is a good cap to put on per item, per person. Yeah. So with the 1,000 divided by 7,
Yeah,
$50.
split evenly among the members, no more than 2 items.
okay.
Be $141.28.5.
Right on the head.
Okay, well, I appreciate you guys, giving me your opinions. I wasn't trying to make that decision for all of you, so thank you.
Got it. Yeah, thanks. Okay, very good. Let's move on. Let's review the financials here, monthly variance reports.
Yep.
Go ahead, Dina.
Okay, so I have bank balances listed here as of November 30th. Fifth Third Securities had little over $8 million. Star Ohio, about 7.6 million. And our bank at First Commonwealth had just about $6.5 million, bringing our total bank balance up to $22,274,720.55. We had outstanding checks of $104,000. And all of our checks that we've cut in the month of December are listed on the final pages of your packet for you to review. We also have a year-to-date income tax collections by category. Through November, year-to-date 2023, we have collected a total income tax revenue of $4.4 million. That is a percentage change of 20%, 20.6% over the same period in 2022.
What was our anticipated or budgeted amount?
Budgeted was 3.9 or 3.6. That number is
So-
suddenly escaping me. 3.9.
We're up over about probably $500,000 over budget, right?
We are
What we
as of
thought.
November, and there's still one more month. Yes.
Good.
And just to give you a little preview, having the numbers from December already in our bank account from Rita, we're sitting right at about 4.9 million for the year. So yes, good growth is continuing through the city of Sunbury. And you can see the breakdown of withholding and individual and net profit tax. As you can see, the net profit tax is trending up with a significant increase from prior year. And steady growth for the other two categories as well. As far as the year-to-date revenue variances and expense variances, all of that data is listed on pages 20 through 30 roughly of your finance packet. We've collected as far as November 30th, $5.9 million in the general fund, which is about $800,000 more than we've budgeted. So our collections generally through the rest of the funds are also exceeding budget. As far as expenses go, we are pretty much in line. We've exceeded some expenses in some categories and come short of some expense budgets in others. So nothing major to draw your attention there. Everything seems pretty typical. And with the previous appropriation changes that I've brought to council and council has approved, we're good to pay all of our bills. So I don't have anything else to bring to your attention, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Mayor, anything to add to Ms. Steffen's report?
I'm just saying, Ms. Steffen has been right on top of it, tracking, given the month by month view compared to last year. I think her forecast has been extremely accurate and you've been extremely nimble. This being your first full year on the job, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've done a great job, so
Thank you.
very, very happy with your work. Thanks for the reporting. And
you.
it always helps to see where we're trending. And anytime your revenue is 20% up, that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
So we can improve on budgeting and forecasting for next year, but 20% up, I read that as good news.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And based on what you said, after you calculate December, we're probably going to be 30% up, right?
It's a
Possibly.
November to November comparison, isn't it? So.
Oh, is it?
we'd be convinced.
Yeah, there would be different numbers for December, so I don't have that information in front of me.
I think it has slowly been going up, like 18, 19, 20, maybe like 21, 22.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a safe guess.
We're accelerating.
Hopefully our expenses aren't up that much, right?
Well, they do kind of follow.
Yeah, Daryl and I
Essence.
don't know
Right.
who we were talking with the other day, but they were talking about our growth and what's the most challenging thing. I mean, we all talk about maintaining the small town feel, but on the budget and planning side, it's scaling. Like scaling up is hard. It really is, especially when you're talking about adding layers and spans. And I think back to the wage ordinance that we have on the agenda, you know, there are positions in there that, you know, we're planning for, maybe haven't budgeted. In some cases, we have budgeted for next year, but think of, you know, where we'll be in 5 years. I mean, it's not going to be with the same amount of staff and the same position types that we have today.
Mhm.
There has to be additional support. I think just as this is December's meeting. I think Daryl, Dana, Amber, and the entire staff have done an excellent job scaling this year and putting ourselves in a great position for next year. So expenses are going up. We find things like we need permitting software or antivirus software, new buildings. That's hard, but they're the right things to do. And you guys on council have done a great job planning for this. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing further here on the agenda. Any further comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I just want to say thank you for bringing these to our attention. You're not asking for anything tonight. You're just prepping us for the future. And I really appreciate that. I appreciate knowing what you guys are doing and that this is going to be coming forward so that if it does come forward, we're not thrown off. Like what? We didn't even know there was a problem. So I appreciate it. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by Ms. Cooper,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Capel. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas, we are adjourned.
Very good. Thank you.